Welcome back. This is your daily dose of reality check. Whether you're stuck in traffic, hitting the gym, or just winding down, I'm here to spill the hottest tea from your favorite Bravo shows. From the wildest reunions to the quietest social media unfollows, we cover it all. So buckle up, literally, because the drama starts right now.
Today, we are just diving headfirst into the entire Bravo ecosystem. We have a mountain of reports to get through.
A mountain is right.
We're talking major casting shakeups, really high-profile relationship news, some pretty intense social media drama, and even a really serious security issue that affected one of the cast members.
It's a lot. We're going to be covering the Real Housewives of Orange County, Beverly Hills, New Jersey, Dubai, Potomac, and even a little summer house.
Yeah, and the goal here is to really unpack it all, not just what's being reported, but, the context behind these claims and counterclaims, what it all actually means.
Okay, so let's start where a lot of the chaos is brewing right now, which is Orange County. They're getting ready for the big one, season 20.
A milestone season, and that always means big changes.
And the biggest rumor, the one that's just been everywhere, is about Emily Simpson. She's 49, and the report alleges she has been, quote, fired from the show.
And in the world of housewives, fired is, it's a loaded word. A leak like that is never just a simple leak.
Right. It's almost never the full story.
Exactly. The second that rumor hit, the whole narrative just exploded into a million different pieces.
Yeah.
And you have to think some of that is probably deliberate.
So almost immediately, there's this counter-narrative that pops up. It's from what seems to be an insider source, and it's basically saying the firing story is completely false.
And it wasn't just a simple, no, that's not true. It got incredibly specific.
Way more specific than you'd expect.
This counter-report claimed her contract wasn't just safe, but that it was actually renewed all the way through season 22.
22. That's a huge commitment.
And on top of that, it supposedly guaranteed her a spot on the next Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip.
That level of detail, I mean, that feels like a message. It feels like a strategic pushback.
It's a massive effort to shut down the negative rumor. It's like her team or someone in her corner is trying to stabilize her position immediately, because a fired rumor can really damage your negotiating power.
Oh, absolutely. And it can be used by production to sort of gauge fan reaction, right?
Yeah.
See how people feel about you possibly leaving.
Precisely. It's like a public negotiation playing out in real time. And if her team felt they needed to leak details about a 2-season renewal and a UGT spot, they were clearly fighting back hard against a narrative that was threatening her whole future on the show.
And the fans, of course, had plenty to say. The reactions were immediate and very strong.
No surprise there.
Some people were immediately jumping on that original rumor, with some fan accounts claiming they had confirmation she left the show. And then you had the simpler comments, just, finally, people who were clearly ready for a change.
But then the conversation got bigger. It shifted from just being about Emily to being about the entire cast dynamic.
It did. A lot of people started calling for Tamra Judge to be removed. Tamra's 58, an institution on that show.
And a lightning rod.
Always. Viewers were calling her the actual poison that they feel drags the show down. It really shows you that the audience sees the cast as this whole ecosystem.
It's not just about one person. It's about how they all interact. And for many fans, removing Emily wouldn't be enough. They want, like, a total system reboot. They see her and Tamra as a pair.
Yeah, they link them together. See a lot of comments about the Mean Girl season and that whole dynamic. It seems like for a big milestone season, season 20, viewers want something fresh, not the same old power struggles.
And we have to remember the context here. Even before this fired rumor, there were already whispers from sources that Emily was on the bubble for season 20.
That's a really important piece of the puzzle.
It is. And she wasn't the only one. The same sources were saying that Katie Janela, who's 41, and Gretchen Rossi, who's 47, were also on that bubble.
So, on the bubble basically means production was already looking closely at their storylines, at their contribution to the drama, fan reactions, all of it.
They were under the microscope. And that kind of instability, that's probably what led to these leaks in the first place. It sets the stage for a big strategic change.
It feels like they're clearing the deck to make room for something big.
It does. And despite all this uncertainty, the reports do point to a pretty established lineup for season 20. Production is apparently set to start early next year.
And this alleged returning cast is, it's heavy on the OGs. It's very old school.
Very.
The list is Vicky Gunvalson, 63, potentially coming back as a full-on OG.
The OG of the OC.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then Tamra Judge, Heather Dubrow, who had her own quit rumors earlier, Shannon Bedore, Gina Kirschenheiter and Jennifer Pedranti.
Okay, stop and think about that core group. Vicky, Tamra, Heather, and Shannon, that is a powerhouse of history. We're talking decades of shared drama and alliances.
It's formidable.
It is, and if that's your core, the pressure on someone like Emily Simpson becomes immense. Her whole storyline has often been about her conflicts with Tamra or Shannon. To justify her spot against that kind of OG history, she'd have to bring something massive to the table.
The return of the OGs just naturally pushes the newer cast members to the sidelines.
It marginalizes them. So all these conflicting reports about Emily, it really just feels like we're watching the business side of the show play out in public as they try to figure out how to reboot for their biggest season ever.
It's a huge shift.
Yeah.
Now let's move from that professional chaos to a really lovely family moment from the OC universe.
A complete change of pace.
Yeah, this is from RHOC alum Alexis Bellino, who's 48. Her oldest son, James Bellino, is only 19, just got engaged.
And the details of this proposal are they're really sweet. It says a lot.
It really does, because this isn't just a simple proposal. James, at 19, planned this entire thing himself. He was the architect of the whole event.
Which is so impressive at that age.
It is. He secured the beach location. He was directing all the family members on where to be and when. He hired a crew to capture. I mean, he thought of everything.
The whole setup was beautiful. The reports mentioned a blanket, floral arrangements, and really notably, a Bible was part of the proposal scene.
That detail really stands out. The integration of family and their faith, plus all that organizational skill. It speaks volumes about how serious this is for them.
And you have to remember, they've been together for 5 years. Since they were 15.
15. For a relationship to not only survive, but get stronger through those teenage years into young adulthood is pretty incredible these days.
It really is. And you can just feel the pride in Alexis's comments about it.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't just a generic congratulations. She was gushing. She said she couldn't have picked a better person for her son.
She called his fiancée the best person she could have wished for as a daughter-in-law.
And she talked about the growth of their family, their Brady Bunch. It's just a really grounding moment. It reminds you that after all the on-camera drama fades, these are the real milestones that matter.
It's the real life that happens when the cameras are off. It's a nice contrast.
It really is. All right, so let's transition from the OC over to Beverly Hills, where the atmosphere is, let's just say it's always charged.
Permanently charged. High emotion, high stakes, high everything.
We have some really significant reflections from Kyle Richards about her separation from Mauricio Umansky, and then a genuinely scary story about a security breach at Sutton Stracke's home.
A lot to unpack there.
Let's start with Kyle. She's 55, and she's finally opening up a bit more about the person she was dating, while she and Mauricio, who's also 55, were separated.
Right. She addressed this on the RHOBH after show, and she confirmed that relationship is now over.
It is. She said they're on good terms, but she was really clear about why it ended. It came down to two things: bad timing and their lifestyles just not aligning.
And that framing is really important. She's not blaming anyone or citing some big dramatic fight. She's chalking it up to practical external conflicts.
Which feels very mature, like their lives just couldn't merge in a practical way, especially with her public profile.
Exactly. But what I found even more interesting was her reflection on her own emotional journey through all this.
Me too. She admitted that her biggest, most paralyzing fear about splitting up with Mauricio after 27 years was just being alone.
And that's such a raw, vulnerable admission. It's the core fear for so many people ending a long-term relationship. But then she followed it up with this really powerful statement about her growth.
It was powerful. She said she now feels a security in knowing she's no longer afraid of being alone.
And that shift, that is everything. Going from a fear rooted in, depending on someone else to finding this security within herself, that's the real story here. She's separating her identity from just being Mauricio's wife.
It totally sets the stage for how she's going to approach dating from now on. She's not looking for someone to fill a void.
Right. She's not looking for validation. She's looking for a genuine partnership.
She said she wants a loving, solid relationship soon, but she made a really important point. She refuses to chase something.
And she's learned from her on-camera experiences, too. She completely ruled out dating apps.
Thank goodness.
And she specifically said she will never, ever repeat that speed dating scene that they filmed for the show.
I think we're all grateful for that. It feels like she's moving towards something more authentic, letting it happen organically instead of through some manufactured TV moment.
And her public comments about the marriage itself have been very careful, very mature.
Very calculated in a good way. She keeps saying she has no regrets about her 27 years with Mauricio. She calls it an amazing marriage.
And she always stresses that they still have a beautiful family together. That's the priority.
And that public affirmation, it's so important for managing the narrative, especially with their lives being so intertwined, professionally and personally. It protects the kids, it protects their brands.
Especially Mauricio's career with the agency. His whole brand is built on this image of stability and family.
Of course. And speaking of family, she said her daughters have been her biggest support. They told her they just want her to be happy.
And hearing that from your kids, I mean, that's huge. She said it gives her the freedom to do whatever I want. It's like she's been given permission to start her next chapter, fully and completely.
It's really empowering. Now, let's get into the advice she got from her co-stars, because this was fascinating. Each piece of advice was like a window into their own souls.
It really was. You could see their own relationship philosophies coming through. Let's start with her sister, Kathy Hilton.
Kathy, 66, gave the most pragmatic, no-nonsense take.
Completely. She called Kyle smart for not rushing into anything, for taking her time, and then she just laid it out there.
She said Kyle doesn't need to get remarried. She's not having children.
That is such a practical midlife perspective on love. It's not about building a family anymore. It's about companionship. It's about enjoyment. It just lowers the stakes completely.
It's the opposite of a fairy tale. Then you have Dorit Kemsley, who's 49, and her advice was, well, it was the fairy tale.
It was pure romance novel, so aspirational.
She described Kyle's ideal partner as someone who absolutely cherishes her, who shows it relentlessly every day in a passionate way.
I mean, that's a very high bar. It sounds less like a real person and more like a character. It probably says a lot about Dorit's own idealized view of marriage.
A sharp contrast to Kathy's realism. And then you have Erica Jane.
Erica, 54, bringing the ultimate reality check.
Always. Her advice wasn't about romance or pragmatism. It was about logistics. Pure logistics.
She said any new partner has to be okay with all of Kyle's life, the whole package.
And she spelled it out. Her public persona, her kids, her estranged husband Mauricio, who will always be in her life, and this was the best part, her cowboy hats.
The cowboy hats, that was the mic drop.
He was perfect.
Because it symbolizes her whole brand, her specific, sometimes quirky, cemented identity. Erica's point is that you can't just date Kyle Richards, you have to date the entire Kyle Richards universe.
The person has to be able to seamlessly integrate into this massive, complex, pre-existing celebrity life.
Otherwise, it's doomed from the start, no matter how great the chemistry is. Erica knows that better than anyone.
So true. Okay, so moving from relationship drama to a much more serious external threat. Let's talk about Sutton Stracke.
Yeah, this situation is genuinely frightening. While she was away at BravoCon, her home was broken into.
And the scale of this, it's staggering. This was a calculated major robbery.
Sutton reported that what was stolen was worth over $1 million. We're talking luxury handbags, jewelry, a massive financial hit.
But it was more than that for her. She made a point to say that these weren't just things she got. She considered them family heirlooms.
And that word heirlooms, it changes everything. It means these items had generational, sentimental value. That's a loss you can't put a price on.
And the violation itself, I mean, just listening to her describe it, it's terrifying. She talked about the feeling of, there were 3 men in my house, in my room, going through my drawers.
That's the part that sticks with you. The psychological trauma of knowing strangers were in your most private space, your sanctuary. That's often way worse than losing the items themselves.
It destroys your sense of safety.
Yeah.
And the way they found out about it just shows how aggressive the break-in was.
Her dog walker showed up and found the front door open. And her big kitchen window was just shattered everywhere. They were not subtle. They were determined to get in.
So, of course, the first question you have to ask is, did this happen because she's on TV? Is her wealth being on display the reason she was targeted?
And she had to confront that. She acknowledged that, yeah, being a public figure with a known affluent lifestyle absolutely makes you a target.
But she also showed this incredible resilience. She said she refuses to live in fear.
Which is a powerful stance to take. And she tried to contextualize it, maybe to help herself process it. She mentioned that her next-door neighbor had also been burglarized years ago.
Right, so she's trying to frame it as, a neighborhood security issue, not just a threat tied directly to her fame. But at the end of the day, it's a stark reminder of the very real security risks these stars face.
It's the dark side of broadcasting your life to millions of people.
Now, turning to her personal relationships, which is always complicated, Sutton also had to talk about the status of her friendship with Garcelle Beauvais.
Or lack thereof.
Exactly. And her former assistant, Avi Gabay. Garcelle and Avi were recently seen out together publicly.
Which, given the history, is a statement.
It is. And Sutton confirmed that since the season premiere aired, neither Garcelle nor Avi has reached out to her.
That silence is loud. It basically formalizes the end of those relationships.
And Sutton's framing of it was really interesting. She called the whole dynamic, with Garcelle and Avi together, a necessary relationship split. She said it was for her own mental health.
That's a very clinical, analytical way to put it. It's not just a petty fight. It's a conscious decision to sever ties for self-preservation.
She said she found a lot of healing after the reunion and talked about the need to put my oxygen mask on first.
In that analogy, it says it all. It highlights the kind of intense focus you need to navigate the emotional burnout that comes from these high-conflict reality shows. She decided the friendship wasn't worth the emotional cost anymore.
It's a huge move towards setting boundaries, which has to be so hard in that world.
It is. You're almost expected to maintain these relationships for the storyline. For her to just cut it off is a big deal.
And of course, you can't talk about Sutton without talking about Erica Jane.
The slow burn feud that never ends.
Right. Sutton addressed that comment from the season premiere where Erica said she looks like a box. She admitted that it stung.
Of course it did. But again, showing that resilience, she added, but I let it go.
And then she kind of teased their future dynamic, saying their relationship is going to be interesting to watch. It's like she's acknowledging the hurt, but also signaling that she's still ready to play the game, you know?
It keeps her in that central storyline with Erica. It's a smart move.
And one last thing on Sutton. She took the time to push back against some claims from other Bravo stars, like Heather Gay and Kate Chastain.
Oh, right. The claims that the RH-OBH cast was unfriendly at BravoCon?
Yeah, they were kind of aloof. Sutton said that wasn't her experience at all.
And she brought receipts. She had proof.
She did. She mentioned a specific dinner she had with some of the RHOSLC women, Meredith Marks, Mary Cosby, and Angie Katzenevas.
Which does two things. First, it suggests that maybe the unfriendly reputation is a matter of perspective. And second, it shows Sutton is actively building bridges across the franchises, which kind of refutes that whole idea that her cast is insular.
Okay, we are now moving into the digital trenches. This is where the conflict gets immediate, unfiltered, and often pretty ugly.
Yeah, this is where that line between public persona and private aggression just completely disappears.
Let's start with Luis Ruelas from The Real Housewives of New Jersey. We have details about some alleged leaked direct messages he was involved in.
And these DMs, if they're real, they show Luis is more than willing to get into these really aggressive, personal, digital fights with his critics.
It's pretty startling. Yeah, he allegedly called the person a loser and told them to come out from the shadows.
Yeah.
It's very confrontational language.
It suggests he's really invested in trying to intimidate or silence people who criticize him online. But the critic didn't back down.
Not at all. They fired right back, accusing Luis of being a grifter and asking him where he was going to grift next. They went straight for the most controversial part of his public image.
The back and forth apparently just escalated from there. Luis allegedly called the person a freak and tried to belittle them, saying that their DM exchange was the most exciting thing going on in your life, LOL.
But the critic was quick and turned it right back on him.
They did. They pointed out that Luis was the one who kept coming back to the conversation, suggesting that maybe this fight was the most exciting thing going on in his life.
It just raises the question of why. Why does a public figure engage in this kind of toxic public back and forth? It almost never makes you look good.
It points to either a real lack of impulse control or maybe this belief that any engagement, even negative engagement, is good because it keeps you in the conversation. It feeds that need for visibility.
And the contrast here is just, it's wild.
Yeah.
Because while Luis is allegedly waging this digital war, the family dynamic back home is going through this massive positive shift.
A huge reconciliation. Joe and Melissa Gorga have confirmed they are spending Christmas Eve with Teresa and Luis.
I mean, for them, that is the ultimate white flag. After years and years of feuding, seasons of television built on their family drama.
It's over. Joe said the relationship is going really good, and Melissa added that they're moving forward how it should have been.
She talked about how life is too short and that between them, they have 7 kids who need to be family. It seems like the need for real family unity has finally won out over the manufactured TV drama.
It's a fascinating dissonance for us as viewers, though. We're seeing reports of Luis's alleged aggression online at the same time the family is making this huge, genuine peace.
It just shows how these stars can compartmentalize. They can create or engage in extreme public conflict while also prioritizing real family connection behind the scenes.
The reality of their lives is clearly moving much faster than the show can even capture.
Okay, from DMs to an in-person showdown. Let's talk about BravoCon and a clash that erupted between Chanel Ayan from Dubai and Kierna Stewart from Potomac.
And this is so interesting because it's all about unspoken rules. It's about celebrity etiquette and hierarchy.
It is. So Chanel Ayan was on the Humble Brag podcast
Yeah.
and gave her side of the story. She said she saw Kierna at BravoCon, and Kierna just had a full-on poker face.
And Chanel did not hold back in her assessment of that.
No. She said, I think she thinks she's Beyonce. I mean, that is a direct shot.
It's a challenge to her perceived status.
Yeah.
And then Chanel doubled down.
She did. She said she hadn't seen anything iconic yet that Kierna had done to deserve that kind of attitude.
And she used Karen Huger as a point of comparison. She said Karen was with Kierna, and Karen was so excited to see her, they had this warm moment. Meanwhile, Kierna, in Chanel's telling, just stands there, doesn't even say hi.
So for Chanel, it was a clear snub. She read it as Kierna having this unearned celebrity entitlement.
But there are two sides to every story, so let's pivot to Kierna's rebuttal. She was on the Virtual Reality podcast, and her issue was completely different.
For her, it was all about proper home training.
Right. Her grievance wasn't about a poker face. It was about the order of operations, the social protocol.
She said she and Karen were walking together when Chanel came up. And instead of greeting them both, Chanel allegedly ignored her and went straight to Karen.
She said Chanel twirls her around and makes a little one-on-one moment.
So from Kierna's perspective, she was the one who was snubbed. She felt she was deliberately passed over in favor of the more established OG, Karen Huger.
And she said she didn't want to interrupt their moment and that Chanel only acknowledged her way later. So for Kierna, Chanel was the one being nasty or rude for not greeting both of them at the same time.
This is a perfect little reality TV drama. It's a clash where one star feels disrespected by coldness, that's Chanel, and the other feels disrespected by a lack of deference, that's Kierna.
And it really highlights the unspoken hierarchy at an event like BravoCon. OGs like Karen get top billing, and newer faces like Kierna are expected to wait their turn. It's all about negotiating your status in that very artificial celebrity bubble.
It's fascinating. Okay, last stop. Let's head to the Hamptons and talk Summer House. Season 10 is coming, and the trailer is already causing a stir.
Especially around Ciara Miller and West Wilson.
The reconciliation rumors between them have been flying. Ciara's 29, West is 30. The trailer definitely teased some things.
It did! But now the evidence is moving beyond just clever editing. We're getting some real-world clues.
The biggest one was a recent photo shared by Sheena Shea from Vanderpump Rules.
Of all people.
Right. And in the photo, Ciara and West are sitting right next to each other. And you know how this works. For reality TV couples trying to manage their narrative, a public photo like that is never an accident.
It's often the first soft launch, a carefully placed signal to the fans that, yes, something is happening. They're back on.
It seems that way. And we also got some fun behind-the-scenes commentary from West himself on his podcast, Show Me Something.
Yeah, he was talking about the trailer, and he was really complimentary about the production team. He said they did a great job.
And he gave this really interesting peek behind the curtain about their famous themed parties.
I loved this part. He talked about how the cast comes up with the theme, they put the whole party together, they live through the chaos of it, and then they have to set up and clean up.
All of it. And he said that seeing the final polished party footage in the trailer is like the reward for all that physical work they put in.
It's a great little insight. It reminds you that they're not just walking onto these perfectly staged sets. They're actively building the world of the show, which probably makes them even more invested in the drama that happens there.
And speaking of drama, he confirmed the big one for this season. He said, obviously there's a fight at the end between Kyle Cook, who's 43 now, and Carl Ratchke, who's 40.
And that's the central relationship of the show, really. The tension between Kyle and Carl, their friendship, their business relationship. It's been the emotional core of Summer House forever.
So confirming a big fight between them right at the end of the season, that's the hook. That tells the audience the stakes are still incredibly high.
It's what will keep everyone tuning in.
And West also cleared up a funny moment from the trailer, the old people party.
Right. He explained that was a joke aimed at Kyle. It was for his 43rd birthday. The younger housemates were just giving him a hard time about being the oldest one in the house.
It's that kind of playful teasing that keeps the show from getting too dark. And just so you can mark your calendars, Summer House Season 10 premieres on Tuesday, February 3rd.
So if we zoom out and look at everything we've talked about today, it's such a wild range of experiences all happening under this one Bravo umbrella.
It really is. We've gone from these incredibly deep personal reflections from Kyle Richards on what it means to be alone after a long marriage, all the way to the very real physical threat that Sutton Stracke faced with that robbery.
And we saw the business machine in action with the Emily Simpson rumors, that constant churn of casting, and then the calculated peace treaty between the Gorgas and the Ruelas family, that private reality versus the public drama.
And at the same time, we're analyzing this immediate, ugly conflict from Luis's alleged DMs and the microdrama of celebrity etiquette between Chanel Ian and Kiarna Stewart.
What's so wild is that we get access to all of it at once. We're seeing this entire ecosystem where real emotional vulnerability, like Kyle's, exists right alongside career-defining conflict and actual physical danger.
It's a constant tightrope walk for them. The whole system is basically designed to take every personal insecurity and every private failure and magnify it for our entertainment.
For profit.
For profit. And that really brings us to our final thought for you to consider. When you see how quickly these rumors spread and how much they can affect someone's career, or how a simple DM screenshot can go viral, or a small dispute at BravoCon can become a week of content, what is the real cost?
The personal cost, the financial cost.
All of it. What is the true cost for these stars to maintain the level of constant visibility and engagement that this machine requires of them? It's like this feedback loop they can't escape. The more they share to stay relevant, the more risk they expose themselves to. But they have to keep sharing to stay employed. It's a fascinating and maybe impossible position to be in. Something to think about until our next deep dive.